What's up, YouTubers? Welcome back to the channel. Whether you're fixing a broken part, you're doing an upgrade, or you're just doing maintenance to keep things running, this hobby requires a lot of good tools. Today I want to show you my top 10 favorite tools or equipment used to maintain the RC cars in this hobby. Check it out. Whether you're a beginner and new to the hobby, looking for some tips on what to get, or you've been in it for a while and you're looking for some new ideas, this video can help. I'm going to add a link in the description for each of these items that I show. These are the ones I prefer, but there are other versions of them all. So the first piece of equipment I want to show you is this RC car stand here. As you can see, it lifts the wheels off the ground, so it's not compressing the suspension when the car is sitting here at rest for storage. And I kind of like that because I don't want anything to mess with the shocks. Over time, they tend to sag and get depleted anyway, so as much as I can preserve that as I can, I like to. So when I store the trucks and I'm not using them, I keep them all on these kinds of stands. They're also useful when it comes to working on them. It just seems easier to me to get at the different parts and have it a little bit in the air when I'm working on things. So that may be personal preference, but for me, I really like it. These stands are sort of relatively cheap Amazon stands made by Hobby Park, but there are many different varieties. Some are more higher end too. These ones come with a magnetic strip, which is nice, so when you're working on them, you can put some of the bolts and nuts that you take off of the truck and just magnetize them on this strip. The height is adjustable on these as well, so you just spin it and it can raise up or down. So I bought a whole bunch of them. They come in different cool anodized blue and red, and I just keep all my trucks on them for storage and for working on them. Next, I want to talk about LiPo safety briefly. This is a form of LiPo safety in the form of a bag. This bag is fireproof and it's made for LiPo batteries. If you don't have one, if you're storing LiPo batteries or charging them without anything like this, definitely get your hands on one. These are highly flammable objects. They can burst into flames while you're driving them and while you're charging them, even sometimes while they're being stored. So I have a couple versions of this. This is an ammo case that can also be used in this way. So especially while you're charging these, you want to have them in something like this. If you're gonna use an ammo can, always remember to remove the weather stripping. I do it on the sides and the bottom here, because otherwise it's going to be too tightly sealed, and if they do catch fire, the thing's going to turn into a bomb. You don't want that. You want it breathable. Another way is some people recommend drilling holes in these. I actually double it up. I put one of these bags inside of ammo can just to be extra sure, but either way, you definitely want to have something like this if you're going to get into the hobby. Next up, WD-40, and not just any WD-40. This is the silicone specialist WD-40. So this is different than what you would typically see. This stuff can work okay to prevent rust, and some people put it on plastic to prevent the plastic from snapping as easily. It kind of makes it more malleable. However, this stuff is what you want to spray on the bearings and any sort of metal moving parts. The silicone kind keeps the water away much better. It's also doesn't leave it wet. It dries quick. So spray it in areas like this. Give it a spray in there. I like to do these bearing points and get so they don't get too much dirt in there, and they operate, so it operates a lot better. The next item is this little guy. This is an infrared temperature gauge. I like this one because it's nice and small. There are others though that are shaped more like a gun, and you point it at the motor or the speed control or whatever it is you're trying to check. This is a Duratrax flash point, and you just simply push the button, hold it to the motor or the speed control, and it's going to give you an accurate live reading of what the temps are. The reason this is important is, for those of you that are new to the hobby, you might not know that these trucks, especially the LiPo versions of RC cars nowadays, come so fast out of the box that they can actually burn themselves up. So you may break or burn up the truck before it's even finished with the battery. Many people don't know that, or they don't realize that that's the case, and they'll just run it hard, full throttle through a battery and end up burning things up. This is less common, especially if it's not super hot out or you've got really good fans on your motors and speed controls. But if you don't, or you're living in a really hot climate, this can definitely happen. So you want to get into the habit of checking your temps. I usually check the ESC and the motor, and just make sure that they're not at a range that's too high. Once you get around 180 degrees or higher, I would start being cautious, let the truck cool off, and you don't want to go much beyond that. Anywhere above 200, you could really start damaging things. The same for the motor. The motor does not have a cutoff, so you really got to be careful. So that's why these are good. Get one and keep it handy. Another really important tool is metal picks. These metal picks can be used to clean the dirt out of the hex of the bolt so that you're less likely to strip it when you take it out. Let me show you what I mean. A lot of people underestimate how much dirt is in these little bolts. So after you do a run, you're going to want to scrape out the center here with these picks. And a lot of times you can get out plenty of dirt. If you don't, there's going to be a layer of dirt in there, and when you go to take them out, you're going to get very little of the surface of the bolt to attach to the hex wrench. And because of that, it's going to end up stripping it. So you may even find that, like, you think a bolt is stripped, and if it's got a little bit of dirt in there, you can use this to get out the dirt, try it again, and you may actually be able to get it out that way without messing with it any further. So it's a huge advantage to have these on hand. The ones I got, I'll put a link, but they came in with different curved ones, angled ones, but the straight one's really the best one for me and the one I use the most. Another tool that's super useful is these shock pliers. You can find them anywhere. These are really good ones. I'll put a link in the description, but you see they have these pins here as well as holes on the other side. The little cylinders that go inside of the rod ends at the end of the shock, you can simply pop them in with that. It's great for use of any kind of highly compressed gasket inside of a circular plastic part. It's also got these little divots here on the end of the shock pliers where you can hold the shock rod if you're trying to screw it into something. This also works for rod ends, any cylindrical metal piece. They really work well for any parts related to the shocks or the suspension. MIP is the gold standard for hexes, in my opinion. These are two here, a 2.0 and a 2.5. These are really good tools. They're made out of very hard metal. They're not going to strip screws or round the hexes as easily as some of the cheaper brands. You'll see when you look them up, they're a little more expensive than the others, but it's worth every penny because the more you can avoid stripping screws, the better. And I'll tell you, once you do, it's a pain in the butt. You got to figure out a way to get them out. So I stick with the higher end stuff like MIP and others, and you'll save yourself a headache, trust me. Related to the MIP tools is MIP hex attachments. These I use so often. You get yourself a regular drill. I use Ryobi products a lot, and I like to interchange the batteries with the different tools, so this made sense to me. You just attach the drill bit. They come in all sizes. MIP makes them, so you know they're good metal and they're not going to round out. I can put a link actually for a 3-pack that comes with 1.5, 2, and 2.5 millimeter, which honestly those are the 3 that you're going to use the most for most 8-scale trucks. And you just put it in and away you go. And so it makes the getting out long bolts especially so much easier. You just have to be a little extra careful when you do this. So just make sure when you set it, it's not at a setting that's gonna be extra torquey, but that's gonna let the clutch engage and not round out the bolt. Another awesome tool that I've come to love is the Rotary tool. This is used for more things than you might imagine on RC cars, but mostly used for getting out stripped bolts. I stripped more than I would like to admit over the years, and this thing is just such an easy way to get them out. I'll put a link in the description of the video I made which shows how to do it with these tools, but they can also work for modifying parts, cutting slots and things. Like I made a video of how to modify the battery tray on the Losi XTE, and this made it so much easier. So I recommend getting one of these, mostly for getting out stripped bolts, but for other things as well. And last but not least, my favorite RC car tool accessory, this box. This box holds most of my tools, and it's portable, which is awesome. So whether I keep it open in the house and use it to grab tools from, or I take it in the car and head out to wherever I'm going to go bashing, it's so awesome. This is not made for RCs or the hobby. It's something I got at Harbor Freight. I can put a link in the description, but it's just made for tools and a portable way to carry them. But look at this. You can put all your hexes in there. You can put pliers here, and it's got tons of storage to put all sorts of other things in. So I end up just keeping my tools in here at home too, and there's no reason to take them in and out. And so it's just such a easy portable way to store everything you need. So I hope you got something out of this video. If at least one of those tools is useful to you, I've done my job here. Let me know if there's a tool or a piece of equipment that you find more helpful. I'd love to hear about it. So thanks for watching. Until next time.